Art of Traveling Light, read by author Lonnee Ray. This comes from Rattled Awake, Volume 3. A few notes from the professional tumbleweed. I was a tomboy, always building forts and imagining the crick would take us from Trenton, New Jersey to the Mississippi River someday. When a 30-something guy skateboarded across Australia, I never imagined it would be him taking me to the Mississippi. "Why do you do these dangerous things?" my dad said. "But Dad, I love camping, and this kayak trip down the river isn't dangerous. Besides, it's Dave." Dave Cornthwaite was the Guinness World Record breaker on a mission to do 100 1,000-mile or more trips using only self-propelled vehicles such as a water bike or a skateboard or a kayak. His visit to my then hometown in Australia set in motion a change of events that have been nothing short of life-changing. When Dave hosted a stand-up paddleboard, kayak, and remote camping trip on the Mississippi, I was all over it. "But Dad, 10 other people are flying over from the UK. It isn't just me that's going. It's perfectly safe." My father had seen this free spirit before and was none too happy about it. Were it up to him, I would have climbed the corporate ladder of Marriott hotels and taken the blue hair bus rides to see fall leaves once a year in retirement. "Besides, Dad, my thing is the big yes, and Dave's is say yes more. We're meant to know each other." In other words, not going was not happening. Over a decade before, my first radio interview show, The Big Yes, went live. This expression is a way of saying, listen to what feels right, even if it defies logic or looks crazy to other people. What calls to you is for you. And I loved interviewing people like motivational speakers that were living their big yes. The Mississippi trip was a big yes. I never told Dad how our kayak was overtaken and nearly sunk by tugboat waves in the first hour down the river. Why would I? He'd only worry. Dave was hosting Yestival in the fall of that year. They named the main stage after me, the Big Yes Tent. I was floored, honored, and rightfully flattered. A couple years later, I was a speaker to 400 adventurers at Yestival. What an incredible experience, all because I got a feeling I should go hear this skateboard dude's talk. But wait, there's more. We visited a blues club after the trip ended. Lucky timing. B.B. King Jr. was on stage in a pop-up show. It'd been 25 years since he played there. We hit it off. In fact, I ended up being his manager and also throwing him a 74th birthday party in Charleston, South Carolina. You see what happens when you follow your big yes? The big yes. Do the thing that calls to you. So what if it looks crazy to other people or defies logic? This is how our greatest inventions have been created outside normal standards. Base it on your big yes, not someone else's fears. It always works out, as you will soon see. The Alaskan Adventure. My first job out of culinary school was on a private charter yacht. It appeared that I was finally going to fulfill my dream, a Jimmy Buffett lifestyle, roaming from port to port, free as a bird. Well, it turned out that this 92-foot luxury yacht was a floating prison. The captain was known as the asshole of the high seas. And then there was me, the seasick chef. Our charter guest was a 75-year-old pervert who pinched my ass, blew cigar smoke in my face, treated me like his personal maid, and stayed longer than any guest could afford to, probably, in history. 10 very long weeks. Most people stay 2, tops. When the captain announced a 2-week extension, I jumped ship. A person can only take so much. Returning to my home state of Florida, I found myself sharing a house and playing mom again to my twin brothers. It was as if my childhood were repeating itself all over again. Ugh. Surely life was going to get better, right? Well, here's the thing. Nothing changes unless you do. And this was my line in the sand. Upon hearing a college friend was working on cruise ships in Alaska, I got a serious case of travel envy. Of course, I would skip working cruise ships and find work in a restaurant. And that was the plan. Pippi Longstocking was my hero as a kid. It was my chance to ease on down the road. What few items that didn't sell in my yard sale were packed into an army duffel bag. I'd seen that on TV, so it must be the way of the traveler, right? Everything I owned was in that bag. Well, 70 pounds was the airline's weight limit. I'd let go of a lot. I figured I'd make it, come hell or high water. Stuff can be replaced. Besides, given the known, the unknown was far more appealing. During the nonstop flight from Daytona Beach to Anchorage, there was plenty of time to get chummy with the 12-year-old seated next to me. She didn't seem to think I was crazy at all. "What will you do when the plane lands?" she asked. I said, "I have no idea yet. All I know is that I have chef's knives and a summa cum laude degree from a top-notch cooking school. The rest is up to chance, I reckon." "Well, my dad's a doctor in town." She paused. I couldn't help wondering where this was going. "And we've put people up before. He might be open to having you stay with us." "Great! Let's go meet your dad." It was an immediate yes from him. "Stay for a few nights," he said, "until you figure out what's next." I was so grateful for his kindness. However, something felt a little reluctant to unpack. Something felt off. And I hesitantly approached him and I said, "Sir, where do people go when they're traveling?" "The youth hostel," he said. Hostel was a new word to me, but it seemed like a yes, so I hustled back out the door, and they dropped me off at the youth hostel with a wave of good luck. In line, I noticed a girl from my plane. "Put me in her room, please." I figured she was up to something good. She said, "Yep, got a summer job at Denali National Park. I'm taking the train up there tomorrow." Well, going with her felt like a big yes to me. With my stellar accolades, I figured they'd be glad I showed up. Kitchens are always short-staffed. The 8-hour train ride was exciting, though sometimes it can be hard to know the difference between excited and scared. I thought back to my childhood when I first started packing to run away. 20 years later, I got to do it. No cell phone, no house keys, no bank account. The sense of freedom was indescribable. Yes, this was definitely exciting. Next chapter. Duh, Nolly. We piled into the small personnel office to sign in. The possum-faced personnel manager glared over her eyeglasses. "You're not on the list. All the jobs are filled. The lodge is full. And employee housing is not an option since you don't work here. Maybe you can stop back in 2 weeks to see if we've had no-shows." Next. Stop back? You don't just stop back in Denali. It's in the middle of nothing, ma'am. She didn't care. I was pushed out of line and given the good luck wave again. It was a devastating blow. How could this have been the big yes? I stood in the corner of that small office with tears streaming down my face. This wasn't excitement. This was fear. I had no clue what to do. The train did not return until morning, and I had nowhere to sleep that night. The month of May is still quite chilly, almost as cold as that woman in personnel. What was I going to do? "Hey, I just heard what happened. I saw you on the train ride up here." A young man's voice interrupted the floodgates. "I got my job situated," he said, "and have a place to sleep in employee housing." I sobbed out, "Congratulations," as best I could. "No, no, no, you don't understand. I also brought a tent." "Oh, good for you." I, I tried to sound supportive. "No, no, listen. You can borrow my tent for the night and figure it all out in the morning when the bus comes." "Oh my God. Thank you. Wow. Really?" I stopped crying long enough to do some math. Um, can you please show me how to put up a tent?" I'd come to Alaska dragging a duffel bag full of books, high heels, and CDs, expecting to be working in a kitchen in a city, not camping in Denali National Park. In the morning, I met two Aussies who'd been hitchhiking for months. After returning the tent, the three of us set out on the adventure of a lifetime. Our first thumbs out hitchhiking took us the entire way, 135 miles up to Fairbanks. A huge dog in the back of the pickup truck kept us all warm. It was magical, let me tell you. Unfortunately, Fairbanks kind of sucks. I mean, really. And I had to keep moving. Checking the want ads, I got lucky. Banquet waitress needed. The job was in Coldfoot. They hired me on the spot, over the phone. Just get here when you can, they said. It was sounded like a cool job, sorta. At least it was an adventure. Sure, I had no idea where I was going except north, as if it mattered. I stuck my thumb out again, and the first person to come along was a park ranger headed to Coldfoot, 60 miles above the Arctic Circle line. It was an 8-hour drive. What are the odds, right? That's what following your big yes looks like, my friend. You may recall TV ice truckers on TV. Coldfoot is the dirt truck stop they use. It's also where busloads of people stop for a night, and they feast on halibut, then attempt to sleep in one of their cardboard hotels with blackout curtains. The full sun of summertime does have its challenges, you know. In the morning, they would pile back into the bus bound for the top of the world, Prudhoe Bay. Work was easy, albeit a bit boring. I made friends with the Brooks Range pilots and even got to take a helicopter ride on my birthday. Another time, a seaplane pilot took me for a ride, landing right on the riverbed. Amazing. Sadly, he crashed his plane 2 weeks later. Downdrafts kill more pilots than anything. I felt sad for him and grateful that I'd had good timing. But they say when it's your time, you go. Maybe that's why I was so brazen, or was it stupid, when I announced, "We are going to hike up and wave to y'all from the top of Green Mountain." It looked like a hill from where we stood. Wrong. A mucking mess. With 22 hours of daylight, navigating by the sun is impossible. We lost our way up that hill. Yeah, ending up in a field of marsh that quickly turned to tundra. Tundra is like quicksand. One step and you sink, and you keep sinking. They say necessity is the mother of invention, and we had no idea what to do, but quickly realized that standing at the base of a tree with roots to stabilize your footing was the answer. Hang on for dear life, steady yourself, and keep jumping. Every misstep will cause you to sink into tundra and wake up a million mosquitoes sleeping just below the muck. We were covered in mosquitoes, leaping like idiots and praying for solid ground. We found it, thank God. We didn't come across a beaver dam on the way in, so this wasn't exactly a good thing to stumble upon, or in either. Beaver dams are slick, be it on the sides or on the top, and mountain water's pretty icy, even in the 80-degree weather. Squishing the whole way back to camp, I vowed to buy waterproof hiking boots if I lived through this hike. The high heels had to be ditched along with the books, CDs, and dress clothes. Once treasured possessions, they no longer had value. In fact, they became a burden. By not carrying excess stuff, my hands were open to receive what was needed. In the moment, it was needed. There was no vision board or manifesting technique. Heck, there was no way to know what was going to be needed, but it always showed up, just like those 250-mile hitchhiking rides that came every time I needed one. The last one was a camper full of guys with beer. After flipping me crap for hitchhiking alone, they offered up a beer or three, and we had a great ride together. Stuff just shows up if we're willing to show up. Stay focused on the what, and the how makes itself known. Last year, I wanted a camo onesie, just in case I found myself out in the woods. Yeah, because that happens all the time. I was home typing away when suddenly my intuition said, "Go, go now!" But there are two local thrift stores. Which one? Just get in the car and go. You'll know. Oh, okay. I picked the right store. Hanging on the rack was a camo onesie with my name on it. What are the odds? An even stranger event was being handed under-eye concealer when I needed it most. It was found on the bottom of the ocean on a cruise to 3 Mexican ports. It was an exact match and so fresh, I used it for a year. What are the odds the one thing I forgot to pack showed up? It's crazy, huh? If you ever doubt your ability to manifest stuff, just look in your closet. Everything got there because of you. Anyway, back to Alaska. I couldn't wait to sleep in a hotel, take a hot shower, and regroup now that I was back in Anchorage. Map in hand, I was determined to find the one hotel in the area. Who was I kidding? I get lost in the mall. Uh, I took a left. It should have been a right. I took a left and came across a perpetual yard sale. Who has a yard sale on Tuesday? I said to one of the browsers. Oh, he always does this. Most of us are working the yard sale to earn a spot on the floor for the night. Oh, okay. By 11 a.m., I was making pancakes for 13 people. It earned me a spot on the floor for the night. Cool. I borrowed a bike and cruised into downtown Anchorage. It was a big yes. Slowing down to a crawl, I asked the tall backpacker what he was up to. Yeah, he said, I've been on the road 14 years. I work under the radar and say, fuck the man. I'm living life how I want to, going where I want, when I want. Well, we both wanted a beer. We both wanted to see Homer, Alaska. And by 10 p.m., headed out of town with Greg. We both wanted that too. He owned literally everything needed to survive. Boy, talk about being set, huh? Man, we were the best travel buddies. I hated to say goodbye to him, but summer was getting on and I had cities to see before it got cold. I'm headed to see a few cities, man. Seattle, Vancouver, San Diego, Vegas. Take it easy, bro. As weird as this sounds, Greg and I literally bumped into each other on a busy Friday afternoon 2 weeks later on a corner in downtown Seattle. Anyway, he said, I was hoping I would find you. I was like, I was supposed to be in San Diego by now. What are the odds? Right? So, yeah, I went to Seattle for 3 days and stayed for 8 years. It took about 2 years to finally stop wearing a backpack. This isn't Alaska, I mumbled to myself. It's okay to not have essentials for the road when you're in the city, dude. I call myself dude once in a while. I'm okay with becoming the woman I used to laugh at, the one who answers herself out loud. Next chapter. Traveling light goes out the window when you hang with people who, unlike Greg, do not have your back. This one's called beer pressure. I was living in Alaska and only knew a few people. This particular night, one of them asked me to drive her 2 blocks to the drive-in liquor store. We just had a tequila shot. One. I let them push me to drive, even though I said no at first. It was not a big yes. 2 blocks! I could have walked, but they wouldn't serve a walk-up. So I drove, and when pulling away from the shop, got the dreaded blue light special. The cop was a real jerk. I was 1/10 of 1% over the new limit. 1/10 of a% over the new limit. You got the worst cop on the force, I heard later. I was belligerent AF. In the end, he went home from work, and I spent the night on a cold slab of cement. Yeah, not a great view with the bars all around, and this one mistake cost thousands in legal fees and nearly the approval of my work visa. Inevitably, when things go awry, it starts with ignoring the nudges and no's. So much could have been avoided. When in doubt, wait it out. If it isn't a big yes, then there are elements of a no. That's enough to put the brakes on. Just trust that innate know-how, or not now. Next section is called signs. It's hard to believe that foregoing surgery on my broken wrist is a good idea. I know. I've lost friends because I chose to self-heal Amish style. They're sure I've made a mistake. And I wondered that too, so I asked for a sign. I don't know anybody that thinks going to court is a good time for any reason, but there it was, a summons to go to a court thing. At the last minute, I decided my phone call to excuse my absence wasn't the best idea. So, so I didn't appear three shades of crazy. I removed the wooden spoon masking tape to my forearm for support. Every bump in the road hurt my wrist. Somebody should have told the attorney, given the attorney a summons, because he was nowhere to be found. By the time I found my person, the only people left in the courthouse were me, my ride, and a random woman sitting on a bench nearby. I'd been looking for my person for an hour and a half. You can put your hand down, she said. You're not being sworn in. Apparently, my person was a comedian. Ma'am, I broke my wrist, and I have to hold my hand up like this all the time. Just then, the random lady whipped around in her chair and said, "Oh no, I did that too in 2020. It looked just like that too." No way. I ditched the comedian and slid in next to the older woman. "How are you?" She flipped her wrist over. The 5-inch pink scar was hard to look at. I got the plates, pins, stitches, casts, drugs, physical therapy, all of it. It took over 8 months to be done. I had to ask, "And how are you?" Her wrist looked totally normal. Hard to believe it was once as jacked up as mine. When she raised her hand up, I almost cried. All her fingers flopped over her palm at a 45-degree angle to the outside of her hand. Her hand was useless. "They did that to you?" "Yes." "Is that your dominant hand?" "Yes." "Oh, no." "Yes." I asked for a sign, and it came with neon warning lights. What are the odds? So, next section is pivot pointers for staying light. I used to type 65 words a minute on a good day. It's probably about 20 now, maybe. One finger can only do so much. I had my sign, now just got to give it time. Co-author Chietza said, "The miracle has already happened, and your body's just catching up to it." Positivity like that is priceless in shifting perspective. So often it's a third party who can see more for us than we can see for ourselves. And mindset is only everything when it comes to the art of traveling light. One of my favorite questions is, how can I have more fun today than I ever thought possible? Handling life is a lot harder now, I must admit. But something really good has come out of this. Rattled and Awake, the anthology series, and it's more fun than I ever thought possible. The collaboration of writers focused on their shook moment has brought together the most unlikely pairings of people. Their united effort to support, promote each other, and for some, the impetus to become authors of their own books is all thankful to that fateful, failed toe-stop tango I did on the roller rink floor a few months ago. What are the odds? Acceptance is the key to peace. The dishes take too long to do one-handed. The glasses don't sparkle like they used to either. Messes are everywhere. Clothes are hard to fold. And the vacuum cleaner resents its long stays in the closet. Oh, okay. The art of traveling light is a continual letting go of stuff. The dishes can wait. I'd rather create Rattled Awake covers on Canva anyway. Well, that and help make a few more people's dreams a reality. What could be more fun than that, right? It's a lot of work, and there's no way I can do it all. Not by myself. And that thought nearly stopped the series in its tracks. And then something magical happened. Writers drawn to the project offered to help do things I was clueless about. And voila, only every time, no matter what is needed, even before it is a known need, somehow it always works out and it keeps working out. So I want to say to you, If someone offers a hand, take it. We're here to promote and nurture each other's dreams. And there is no I in team. Stay light on your feet. Agility cannot be overestimated. Follow the beat of your own drum, no matter who tries to beat you down. The art of traveling light is a skill, but then not really. Isn't it easier to just let stuff go anyway? And one final thought, a mantra that lifts worries better than a 2-ton crane. Simply, I am divinely guided, connected, and protected. And so are you. We've all been through so much and have lived to tell about it, literally. My bio, Lonnee Ray, is on a mission to promote the voices of others whose stories will elevate, inspire, and change our world for the better. She is the editor-in-chief for the Rattled Awake series, a story development coach, concierge book producer, multi-show podcast host, and author message consultant. You can find #1 international bestsellers, Rattled Awake Volume 1 and Volume 2, along with her books, Life Lessons Learned from a Lousy Mother and How to Deal with the Dumbass, What to Do and Say When They Come Your Way, on Amazon. Her podcast, How to Deal with a Dumbass, A Spiritual Perspective, is on Spotify and other places you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to share your Rattled Awake story in a future volume, connect with her here, officialrattledawake.com. And thank you ever so much for listening. If any of this spoke to you, say it forward. Stories matter. If we all get to hear them, we all get better, or something like that. Ask yourself, how can I have more fun today than I ever thought possible? And watch it work out for you. It does it on its own.